During the most recent Nintendo Direct last month, we received all sorts of hype announcements of new games and updates that would be periodically coming to our Nintendo Switches throughout the year. It's a pretty good Direct in my opinion. One of the most interesting of these announcements, though, was seemingly out of nowhere after 5 years that we would finally be getting new tracks for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I wasn't that excited about it.
48 courses! What the hell? That's so many!
Fast forward now to the beginning of April, and Wave 1 of the Booster Course Pass has been available for roughly 2 weeks now. One of 6 passes that will be periodically dropping in Mario Kart 8 until the end of 2023. As a whole lot of Mario Kart. Now that a decent amount of time has passed, I've been able to put a good chunk of hours into these new racetracks, and I definitely have some thoughts on them. In fact, so many thoughts that it originally started as a long Twitter thread that now I've decided to put into a video to further extrapolate my thoughts and go into more detail. And when I say I've played these racetracks, I mean I played the living hell out of these racetracks. It should be noted before I begin talking about this that I am not the typical demographic that Mario Kart is marketed towards. I've 100%ed every entry in the series. I put an insane amount of hours to whatever the latest release is. I used to play Mario Kart competitively, and overall it's just simply one of, if not my favorite racing series of all time. That is to say, my perspective of this DLC is going to be different from the average player and should not be used as a basis on whether or not I recommend this to anyone else. These are purely my own selfish, self-centered thoughts. And with that out of the way, let's begin. I think these are a pretty solid selection of tracks for the most part, with most of the mainline games being covered in the past, with the 2 exceptions being Super Mario Kart from the SNES and Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube. I personally would have swapped one of the tour tracks with something from Double Dash, since there's 3 tour tracks alone in Wave 1, but I also understand that for most players, myself included, these are basically brand new tracks, and I am a bit biased. I do want me some Double Dash tracks. Still, I really hope that down the line this pass finally gives us the anti-gravity Wario Coliseum that we all deserve. Please, Nintendo, make it happen. It's so simple. It's so simple, really. As for the actual tracks themselves, though, I think most of them are pretty good picks, with the one exception being Toad Circuit. I'm sorry. It was already a pretty boring track in Mario Kart 7, and nothing about it has changed in Mario Kart 8 with the exception to the visual updates, which we'll talk about those visual updates later. And there's just nothing about it that makes it even remotely noteworthy. It's the one spot that feels legitimately wasted, especially considering we already have 2 fantastic Toad-themed tracks already available in the game. I think a much better substitution would have been Mario Kart 7's Mario Circuit, as it's still a roughly similar course in terms of difficulty, but with a lot more interesting variations in terms of the setting and the track design. It even uses the same music as Toad Circuit, so I mean, you already got that covered. But best of all, you get to drive through Peach's castle! It's perfect! It's literally the one thing that we've always wanted to do in a Mario Kart game, and you can do it in that track. It's perfect! Coconut Mall also had a bit of controversy with some of the changes made to it, and while I think most of these criticisms are blown way out of proportion, such as the whole escalator debacle, the one change I do agree negatively impacts the track is the removal of the booster pads during the final section, as well as making the cars stationary. It removes a pretty memorable portion of this track that also served as a genuinely challenging risk versus reward obstacle that could turn the tides of a race if not executed properly. And while it doesn't impact the track design itself, I also really miss the randomly generated Miis that would occupy the track. Not only was it cool seeing all of your greatest creations and cursed abominations cheering on the racers, but it made Coconut Mall feel populated on the Wii, whereas this new version just feels so empty in comparison. The only other criticism I have regarding the track design is with Sky Garden from Mario Kart Super Circuit, as it's missing a few turns from both the GBA and DS versions that make it way shorter. The shortcuts have also been simplified quite a bit, which make them far less exciting to pull off. I and a lot of other Mario Kart fans have been hoping to see GBA's Rainbow Road return in this pass, but I have to be honest that I'm significantly less interested in that future if the track design and shortcut philosophy is similarly handled in that theoretical redesign. Otherwise, these are easily the definitive ways to experience these tracks in my opinion. Starting with the tour tracks, since they feel like brand new courses as someone who has barely touched that game, they each come with their own unique twists and are welcome additions to the Mario Kart family as far as I'm concerned. Paris Promenade is my personal favorite of the three with its open approach to routes and the subversion of putting the final lap in reverse. It could have easily been convoluted and confusing, but the whole process is telegraphed pretty well and leads to a lot of fun mayhem for the whole race. Tokyo Blur is definitely a more beginner-friendly course and feels the most tour or mobile out of the trio, for lack of a better word, but despite that, I think it still stands out and is a fun track. Simple but effective, having each lap change into a different part of the city is also a really cool conversion of the initial track as well. Ninja Hideaway is just a cool original track with tons of obstacles, traps, alternate routes, and loads of variety all around. It's just a full-on spectacle of cool ideas with so much going on throughout the entirety of the race. Even without any anti-gravity sections, it feels like a totally natural course to be included in the game. Definitely going to be fun studying time trials for this and mapping out the most optimal routes and strats. Weirdly enough though, unlike the other tour tracks, Ninja Hideaway does not include Tour in front of its name to denote that it's a retro track. And it's even more bizarre considering that the reveal trailer for the Booster Course Pass does include this information when showing off the track. Just really weird stuff all around. That leads to the tracks I am more familiar with. Choco Mountain preserves the most memorable parts of the N64 original while giving the least memorable parts a complete facelift. Most notably the addition of a new tunnel and gliding section right before the Falling Rock Canyon. Maybe it's just my nostalgia from Mario Kart 64, but despite the simplicity of Choco Mountain, I always have an absolute blast racing through it, and this remake is no exception. And that new arrangement of the theme performed by the Mario Kart band is just mwah! Despite its more simplistic and unassuming setting, Shroom Ridge is one of my favorite courses from Mario Kart DS, so I was pretty hyped when I found out that it was returning for Wave 1 of the Booster Course Pass. While I do wish there were some artistic assets added to the background to liven up the scenery, I'm happy to report that the technicality of the track has been preserved. It's still very much a course that will push your drifting to the limit and is an absolute blast to play on 200cc while dodging and weaving through traffic. The new music arrangement deviates from the DS original by Shinobu Nagata, which was a bit more laid back, but the new version I actually think complements the course just a bit better, as it emphasizes its percussion a lot more, which takes into account the danger of going around each corner at high speed surrounded by other cars. Super happy to have this one available in Mario Kart 8. And sticking with the music for just a bit, it should come as little surprise that the new music in the pass is fantastic, just like the rest of 8's soundtrack. It was also a really nice surprise to see the Tour and GBA tracks get brand new arrangements too, despite Tour having already provided its own unique arrangements for those tracks in the first place. While I think I slightly prefer Tour's 80s synth take on Sky Garden, I also love the new acoustic version performed by the Mario Kart band. It's also really nice hearing the Mario Kart band perform the ensembles in Tour's city-themed tracks, which were previously synthesized with some rather basic-sounding patches. Finally, that leads to arguably the biggest talking point regarding the DLC being the visuals. Much like when I was talking about Coconut Mall from earlier, I think most of these criticisms are overblown, but to a lesser degree. It's no secret that unlike previous DLC courses in Mario Kart 8 which were created from the ground up, these new tracks from the Booster Course Pass have been imported from Mario Kart Tour, with either new or up-res textures and lighting changes. At least that's what appears to be happening at face value. While we don't know for sure whether or not this will be the case for every track moving forward, it's widely assumed that this will be the case for every wave of the pass from here on out. While the courses might technically be less detailed than what's been offered before, they still blend in and look absolutely gorgeous to race through, for the most part, unless you come to a complete halt and are actively searching for discrepancies. However, there are absolutely some notable exceptions that I do think could have benefited from some additional work. Stuff like the cherry blossom trees and wood textures of Ninja Hideaway, the palm trees of Coconut Mall, or the greenery located on a vast majority of the tracks definitely stand out in contrast with the rest of the game's assets. The grass and sand in particular from Toad's Circuit have gone viral online because of the stark contrast between it and the grass found in previous Mario Kart 8 tracks. Tokyo Blur also has some rather bland looking backgrounds which are normally hard to see but are clearly visible in both the track preview as well as when driving through the Rainbow Bridge. The highway section during the final lap also doesn't have much going on and could have benefited from some art and graffiti on the walls or maybe some tunnels and lights. It's definitely the least visually interesting portion of the track. But the biggest offender in the visuals department has to be Paris Promenade, which is a shame because again, like I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy this track. It's my favorite of the 3 tour tracks included in Wave 1. The buildings and greenery just look plain ugly on this course, even when racing at 200cc. It's especially noticeable though at the starting line where flat, textured buildings and polygonal assets are littered in plain sight in front of the player's view. Of all the tracks, this one absolutely needed the most work done to it. A few of the tracks also feel a bit oversaturated with color, particularly Toad's Circuit, Coconut Mall, and Sky Garden. But otherwise, I personally think these courses fit right in with the rest of the game's art style, which I understand is somewhat of a hot take. But like, come on, you can't possibly tell me that Choco Mountain doesn't fit with the rest of Mario Kart 8's art style, even knowing that its assets are primarily ripped from Tour. It looks great! Well, that's about all of what I have to say about the first wave of the Booster Course Pass. So what are my big takeaways? Well, it's clear that Tour is having a significant influence on the pass, whether it be the amount of courses originating in that game being featured, or the models from other courses being ripped from Tour itself. While I don't think this severely impacts most of the tracks for now, there are some definite warning signs that do admittedly make me concerned for the future of the pass. There's obviously the potential for more glaring visual disparities, but more importantly, there's the potential impact on track design. I mentioned previously how both Coconut Mall and Sky Garden have track design alterations that stop them from being the definitive versions of these tracks. More so than even the visuals, this is my biggest concern moving forward with the DLC. Since these tracks seem to be coming from Mario Kart Tour untouched, and because Tour's track designs usually have to be altered to some extent to accommodate for its unique gameplay, this could possibly be the start of a laundry list of compromises that interfere with the original track designs as each additional wave is released. There's also the noticeable lack of anti-gravity in any of the Wave 1 tracks, which would further line up to these being ripped directly from Tour, since that game doesn't feature any anti-gravity mechanics at all whatsoever. It would be quite odd for none of the courses to feature anti-gravity when A, it's such a prominent feature of Mario Kart 8 already, and B, because all of the vehicles featured in the Booster Course Pass promotional banner are all shown in their anti-gravity configuration. But that could also easily just be an oversight from marketing. I hope that isn't the case because I would love to see anti-gravity utilized in future tracks. None of the Wave 1 tracks really needed them, but there are still tons of retro tracks that could benefit from even a short, unintrusive anti-gravity section being added, and to not capitalize on that is such a wasted opportunity. Overall, while I have some reservations regarding the future of the Booster Course Pass, Wave 1 I think is a solid if imperfect start to the journey. You've got a great selection of racetracks, well, besides Toad's Circuit at least, sorry Torvis. Top-notch music as always from the Mario Kart band. Decent visuals with some notable exceptions, Paris Promenade in particular really needs some heavy work. And some slightly compromised track designs on Coconut Mall and Sky Garden, though nothing that outright ruins these races entirely. That wraps up everything I have to say about Wave 1 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Despite some criticisms and slight worries regarding future waves, I had a lot of fun with this DLC, and man, it just feels great to be able to look forward to new substantial Mario Kart content again. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you hated everything I had to say, then feel free to subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification so you know exactly when my next bad take drops. Leave a comment and tell me what your most wanted track is for the pass. I already mentioned Wario Coliseum earlier, but here's some more that I'd be pumped to see return. And if you're still here and want more, check out my other discussions, mashups, or just me screaming like a child over various game announcements. Until next time, folks, I will see you all next mission.